I don't know about you, but sometimes I wonder whether it's really worth the commitment when I start a new book series. So, this video, I tried 5 completely different books, and I'm going to tell you which series I'd recommend you start and which you might want to skip. A journey to see cute penguins? I'm in. Fall in for your evil boss? Sure. Serial killers and romance? Okay. Rich socialites and toxicity? All right. Rugby and emotional roller coasters? Hell yeah. In this video, I'll be giving my honest opinions on 5 first books in series starters. I'll go through the pros and the cons of each book, but also answer the ultimate question: should you start the series, or are they better left on the shelf? Now, as usual, I have done some visual nods to each book, but also for the universal theme, which is book series. So let's start with the first book I read, which was Away with the Penguins by Hazel Pryor. Veronica Macready is 85 and she realises she doesn't really have anyone she can leave her vast fortune to when she passes on. Most of her days are spent at home alone, watching her favourite wildlife documentaries. And it's whilst watching one of these that she makes a monumentous decision. So, what were some of the good parts of the book? I don't think it's much of a spoiler to tell you. Veronica decides she wants to go to Antarctic to meet some very cute penguins. Any book that has cute animals in is a winner with me. In addition, I liked Veronica as a character. She's very much, once she's put her mind to something, she goes and does it. And in addition to that, the flashbacks to her younger years are actually some of the more intriguing parts of the story as well. Now, what were some of the parts I wasn't as keen on in the book? There is a character called Patrick in the book, and he is deliberately written as a bit of a waster. And to be honest, I just wasn't that interested in his point of view. In addition, with the writing style, it wasn't that immersive. I didn't feel like I was there with them. It kind of just felt like words on paper, if that makes sense. Here are some of my favourite quotes from Away with the Penguins. The clock strikes 7. Eileen has gone and I am alone in the house. Being alone is supposed to be an issue for people such as me, but I have to say I find it deeply satisfying. Human company is necessary at times, I admit, but it is almost always irksome in one way or another. It's a lifelong habit of mine to pick up litter because of something my dear father once said. It is a small act of remembrance, as well as a token gesture, to atone for the chaos caused by the human race. There are those who make the world worse, those who make no difference, and those who make the world better. Be one who can make the world better if you can. Now, I will do all the summaries of the books towards the end and also whether I think you should start the series or not. But before we go, just make sure you've got all the nods to the book. So the second book I read was Assistant to the Villain by Nicole Maehrer. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. Evie Sage is desperate for a new job due to money troubles and family dependency. But the only job that she can actually get is with the town's villain, and that is only after a chance encounter. When it becomes clear that someone seems to be targeting Evie's new workplace, she decides to take it upon herself to see if she can work out who the mole is, whilst also trying not to fall for her evil boss. So, what were some of the good parts of the book? I liked the fact that the book was a little bit different. For example, Evie goes to work for the villain as opposed to a good guy, like usual. In addition, she does begin to develop feelings for him, so you get their romance there as well. I really liked the backdrop of the villain lair. I thought that was a really fun touch. And you also get the mystery of who is targeting the villain's lair as well and passing on information. So you try and solve the mystery along with Evie as well. And what were some of the parts I wasn't as keen on? For me, my major gripe with the book is pacing. Particularly around the middle area of the book, it seemed incredibly slow and it did ruin my enjoyment of the book quite a bit, unfortunately. Here are some of my favourite quotes from Assistant to the Villain. There is so much that can be fixed by honesty, if you are brave enough to use it. You're not all bad, are you? He looked offended. How dare you? She wasn't light, she was colour, every single one, dancing otherworldly and bright over his unworthy eyes. She was the explosion of the vivid gleams and glows of the world around him, like a constant rainbow, shining not after the rain, but during. Book number 3 was Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. Butcher and Blackbird is a book about Rowan and Sloane, who are both serial killers who only kill other serial killers. They have like a meet cute and decide over time to have an annual competition where they target one particular person and see who wins. However, as you can imagine, their hobby is quite dangerous, and over time, do they start to develop feelings for each other? So, what are some of the parts I liked about the book? Serial killers only killing other serial killers plus romance. That's pretty different, isn't it? In addition, it can obviously be quite hard to get behind a serial killer, but when they're only killing other serial killers, that's a bit more acceptable, isn't it? Plus, actually, the romance is pretty sweet. I listened to the book mostly on audio, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. It really made the book for me. I do find sometimes within audiobooks that you get one narrator reading one chapter, for example, and that includes the other sex's voice, and I find that really breaks the immersion sometimes. Whereas this book, it didn't do that. It had the narrators voicing their own parts in the chapter, and I really enjoyed that. In addition to that, I really liked the voices of both the narrators, in particular the male narrator, who is Irish, and I do love that accent. But what were some of the parts I didn't enjoy about the book? I won't beat around the bush. It is very graphic in all aspects of the book, so that includes in the murder side and the spice side of the book. Now, look away now if you don't want to see any spoilers, because there is a spoiler page at the start of the book, and it is very spoilery. It does detail exactly what happens in the book. For example, accidental cannibalism. In regards to the spice, it is at the highest end of the scale for me, and is the highest one of the channel so far that I've done. It includes the descriptions of the scenes as well. You have the C word, the A word, the P word, quite frankly, the whole alphabet. Here are some of my favourite quotes from Butcher and Blackbird. Maybe I was right. We're not normal people. We are monsters. But if we're monsters, we'll thrive in the dark together. You have never been unlovable. You are just waiting for someone who will love you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. I can do that if you'll let me. There's relief knowing I can love and be loved after years wondering if I was so broken that there was only room for vengeance and loneliness in my heart. Book number 4 was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. The reason I chose this book was because I'd heard so much about it, basically. Sarah Caroli in particular loves the series, so I thought I'd pick it up and give it a go, even though it's not necessarily what I would choose for myself just by reading the back of it. Magnolia Parks is the female main character in the book, and she's very much your sort of made in Chelsea, socialite, affluent, very beautiful type of character. She used to go out with bad boy BJ Ballantyne, and ever since they broke up, they've been in a constant on again, off again, dysfunctional friendship ever since, basically. Now, as they try and negotiate their lives around each other, some secrets come out. And will that make or break them for good? So, what were some of the good parts of the book? Magnolia and BJ, at the root of it all, do have quite a lovely but flawed friendship. I think if you like Made in Chelsea, the reality TV series, you will like this book. But what are some of the parts I wasn't so keen on? This book is basically like a toxic friendship stroke romance, and that just means I can't 100% get behind it. That's not my type of book, really. However, I have to say, there is something about the way it's told, it actually really drew me into the story, and I was very surprised by that. In addition, I'm not a brand name girly, and Magnolia literally says everyone's outfit, brand name, what they're wearing, pretty much constantly, and that's just not my sort of style. Pun intended. Here are some of my favourite quotes from Magnolia Parks. How many loves do you get in a lifetime? Before I even know I'm doing it, I push back from the table, feeling lightheaded, spinny and panicked. But I'm not having a panic attack, because I don't have those. Those are for people who aren't in control of their lives, and I have a handle on everything. Absolutely everything, especially my heart. It just comes and goes in waves, the grief of losing him. Rears his head at funny times in peculiar places. Marceli used to say something about how love can go sour like milk, and then it turns to hate. Maybe we left our love out. And finally, the series I have heard so much gushing over, The Boys of Tommen, book number 1 in the series, Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Shannon Lynch has a bit of a tough life at school with school bullies, and her mum decides enough is enough. She's going to pay for Shannon to attend private school, Tommen College. Johnny Kavanagh is the star rugby player there, and he's on track for great heights. When an accident brings them together, a friendship slowly begins to form, but both of them are keeping secrets. And what happens when those secrets get revealed? What were some of the parts I enjoyed about the book? Both the main characters are quite likable. You've got Shannon, who is quite fragile, but she's really warm as well. And you've got Johnny, who's hyper focused at only rugby. He's really popular, so they're quite opposites. However, obviously, when their friendship begins to form, it's actually pretty sweet and they do bring out different sides to each other. There is a page at the front with a glossary of terms used in the book. There are definitely some words in there I didn't know the meaning of, and the pronunciation of some of the names as well. But what were some of the parts I wasn't as keen on? Obviously, check the trigger warnings if you feel like you need to, but there is a hint about what happens in the book at the back blurb of the book. I did find some of the dialogue was a bit too over the top and cheesy sometimes, to be honest. There's actually a lot of casual swearing within the book, so if that bothers you, I mean, it is Irish. There is a lot of talk how Shannon is really, really small and Johnny is like really, really big. Yeah, I mean, we get it. She's small and he's big. Here are some of my favourite quotes from Binding 13. I once read somewhere that we mature with damage, not with age. Shannon like the river, will you please be my friend? I hated humans. They were such a disappointment. And to think God switched dinosaurs for man. He must be raging. So now we've come to the part where I reveal whether I recommend you start the series or skip the series. So book number 1 was Away with the Penguins. I was a big fan of obviously the cute penguins in the series and Veronica's backstory. I found that really interesting actually. I wasn't as keen on the character of Patrick though, and I felt like he either needed fine tuning or actually just taken out the book altogether, to be honest. I do feel like the book doesn't necessarily need a follow on, but I have bought the next book in the series. I will say, however, it's definitely not a must have for me. I rated the book 3 stars, but do I recommend you start the series or skip the series? I do recommend you start the series. Like I said, I have bought the next book in the series. Book number 2 was Assistant to the Villain. I was genuinely really excited to start this book, and that was mainly down to the premise of the book being an assistant to a villain. But I do have to say I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would do, and that was mainly down to the pacing of the book. It was quite slow in parts, and it did kind of ruin the enjoyment of it for me. I rated the book 3.5 stars though, but the big question would be whether I would start the series or skip the series. I still do think the premise has a lot of potential to it, and I have bought the next book in the series, so I've got to say I would recommend you start the series. Book number 3 was Butcher and Blackbird. Serial killers killing other serial killers plus almost off the scale spice. Listen, that's not my usual type of book, I'll be perfectly honest. But something about it worked for me. I would definitely avoid it though if you are squeamish or spice averse, for sure. I rated the book 3.5 stars, but would I recommend you start the series or skip the series? I will be carrying on the series, so I've got to recommend that you start the series. But definitely do please check the trigger warnings before you start the book if you need to. Book number 4 was Magnolia Parks. To be honest, I would not have picked this book up if I hadn't heard so many other people rave about it. Toxic relationships and socialites are not usually my cup of tea, but there is something about the story that actually really drew me into it. I rated the book 3.5 stars. So, would I recommend you start the series or skip the series? I would recommend you start the series. I am very interested in the next book in the series, though, because apparently it's something to do with the mob. And again, that is not something I would pick up at all. So, we'll have to see. And finally, book number 5 was Binding 13. Again, this isn't the type of book I probably would have picked up for myself, but there was so much hype about it. I was actually really curious. A star rugby player and a fragile, bullied girl form an unlikely friendship. Now, full disclosure here, I started the book on audio and I wasn't that into it at all. I was actually really miffed when I realised the audiobook was only part 1 of 2, so I did consider just leaving it there. I happened to pass by the book in a shop and I thought to myself, okay, I've got to at least finish the first book in the series to make an informed decision. And changing to the book was a real game changer for me. I flew through the rest of the book and I really enjoyed it. I rated the book 3.75, and the big question is would I recommend you start the series or skip the series? I recommend you start the series, and spoiler alert, I have already read the next book in the series. So that was 5 brand new series that I started, and I do recommend you actually start them all, surprisingly, albeit some more than others. But if I had to rank them in the order I would start them, last place would be Away with the Penguins. Next, number 4, Assistant to the Villain. Next would be Butcher and Blackbird. Number 2 would be Magnolia Parks. And lastly, or first place, the series that I would start first if I were you, is Binding 13. That was also the genuine order that I read them in as well. Now, before we go, I'm going to go through the nods of each individual book, but also for the universal theme of book series. So for the book series, we had the chalkboard with the number 5 on it, because 5 is the number of books I read in this video. In addition, the books in general, but if you have a look at the first top 2 layers, not that you can see here, all the top 2 layers are books that are in a series. In addition to that, we've got the number blocks 1 up to 5 for obviously the number of books I've read and books in a series, if that makes sense. For book number 1, Away with the Penguins, the nods were the penguins because of the penguins in the book, obviously, the snowman and the snowflake for a nod to the Antarctic, the house for Veronica's mansion, and the treasure chest as Veronica is wealthy. For book number 2, Assistant to the Villain, these were the nods. The dragon, as there is one in the book, the crow and the bat for the general theme of being a villain, which are also shown on the book cover, the frog king and sign, as there is one in the book who does hold up signs, have a look at the book cover here as well, the mole for the mole they try to find in the lair. The nods to Butcher and Blackbird, book number 3, were the heart for the romance element in the book, the dagger and weapons for the serial killer element, the crow for the nickname of Sloane as the orb weaver, And the ramen, as there is an incident with some food involved. Don't think it was ramen though. Magnolia Parks, book number 4, had these nods. The heart locks, as there is toxic romance stroke friendship at the heart of the story. Pun intended. The drinks, as they are socialites who frequent bars often, etc. And the treasure chest due to the affluence of the characters. And lastly, book number 5 was Binding 13, and the nods to the book are the rugby ball as Johnny plays rugby, the Christmas stuff as the book starts after Christmas break, and the school uniform as the story is based at a private school. Let me know in the comments whether you have started these series or if they're still on your TBR. In addition, if you have liked this video, please do like and subscribe. It does help out the channel a lot. If you like starting new series, then I think you might like this video here. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you will like this video here.